They're saving towards pensions through their employer, but they are not able to actually access investment products that they can save towards the things that they actually care about today to solve their daily needs. So we put out a very dirty MVP. We put out a waiting list and we had like 1,000 people sign up. We're like, okay, let's try to build trust is to follow through on the promise. Because we had said, put your money here, it will be invested for you, and when you need your money, you can get it. There was a gentleman, the mechanic, at the end of the day, he would put the money in a chip and earn some money. Exactly, on that. At that time, he was doing like 1,000 cedis, 1,500 cedis. So fast forward a few years later, he was transacting about 30,000. I felt really, really proud of him and also of us for creating that platform. Once you come on, we show you different risk profiles. So as time goes on, people actually, without reading an article or watching a video, start to pick up on financial literacy. So we deliver the education. Mobile money became a very big deal in Ghana. People who were hitherto excluded from transacting digitally could now transact digitally by having their phone because they could do mobile money. So we said, okay, why don't we create a solution to meet the people where they are?
Hi, Huzaifa. It's super awesome to meet you and to be able to talk to you about all the great things that you're building in Ghana. So maybe let's start from the very beginning. Can you tell me about the context that in Ghana that has led you to start what you're doing?
Sure. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I, started working in a pensions firm. As a corporate trustee, we manage institutional pensions for companies, for their employees, and we have been doing this for a very long time. But a few years ago, we were thinking about, okay, what about the individual? They're saving towards pensions through their employer, but they are not able to actually access investment products that they can save towards the things that they actually care about today to solve their daily needs. Retirement may be 30 years, 35 years away. What about what is happening right now? The other part of it was that mobile money became a very big deal in Ghana. People who were hitherto excluded from transacting digitally could now transact digitally by having their phone because they could do mobile money. But they didn't have investment accounts. And Ghana has a high penetration of smartphones, very young population. Over 60% of the population is between 15 and 45, 60. So we said, okay, why don't we create a solution to meet the people where they are? Everybody's online. Only the old people go to the bank, only the old people talk to fund managers. So it had become a situation where access to investments had become like a sophisticated thing. You had to be very rich, very educated, had to be in a certain class to be able to access investments. And we said we want people to be able to access investments wherever they are, young people especially. And the way to do that is to give them that access. So we thought about putting out a mobile app. And our first question, because we try to adopt the lean startup model and we ask questions and try to answer them as we go along, because we don't know, we have to build with the consumer in mind. So our first question was, will people want to invest digitally? Because in our context, trust is a very big deal. And the way that trust had been built over, hundreds of years was through brick and mortar interpersonal relationships. I know my banker, I can call them. And we wanted to try something new. Like, why would someone put their money where they didn't know anybody and was just an app that can just go off the Play Store and what would happen? So we put out a very dirty MVP. Our first MVP was, really bad, but it was to test real consumer feedback. And we put out a waiting list and we had like 1,000 people sign up. We're like, okay, let's try this. We put out a product and people started, engaging with the product. And we found out that the way to actually build trust is to follow through on the promise. Because we had said, put your money here, it will be invested for you. And when you need your money, you can get it. So somebody comes in, they put like 100 cedis or 10 cedis, which is less than $1. Then 3 days later, they see, a few pesos or a few cents. They go, oh, yeah, they invested my money. I got some return. It works. Then they put in a withdrawal request and the money is paid back into their mobile account. They're like, awesome. Next time I'm doing 100. Next time I'm doing 1,000. And, that's how the story started. And recently, we did some data analysis trying to do like customer segmentation because we had thought that this would appeal very much to young people. They have small monies, and we were shocked. We were gobsmacked. We had people there that had 500,000 CDs. Like they had a lot of money there, and we realized that people are actually looking for that easy access to a platform like this. On Achieve, you don't need to go to the bank. You download the app, you go through KYC, and financial institutional KYC is usually very long and difficult. We had to work with the fund managers, like, how do we simplify this? What can we take out? What can we make very simple?
Before we jump into there, I already have so many different questions from what you already said. Okay. So let's take it a step at a time.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of people, me included, are under assumption that, first of all, banking is a problem in Africa, that, Africa is unbanked. But now you're saying that in Ghana, it's not about banking, it's about the investment, which in many cases, to be honest, even in European countries, people lack the knowledge or the tools to do it properly and easily.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that still context of the banking and how it evolved and like just the banking situation.
Yes. You're absolutely right. When people think about financial inclusion, they think about the unbanked and people who cannot transact digitally or not even transact, that don't have accounts, right? They are totally left out of the fray. It's a little different in Ghana. Whilst we have a large percentage of the population in the informal sector that are unbanked, technically because they don't have
still exists
bank accounts, they are within the financial space because they have mobile money accounts that serve as their banks. A mobile money account is just linked to your phone, so everybody has a phone, has a number, and I can send you money just by knowing your number. You can keep your money there, you can spend it, you can pay.
Banks.
We crossed it, jumped over the banks. And so a lot of people don't have bank accounts, but they have mobile money accounts. And for us, it's almost the same thing. So now you can receive money, and whilst you can receive money, you should be able to do other things with that money.
So you're working with both by traditional definition, unbanked and banked people.
Everyone. And the interesting thing about the mobile money is that formal sector, informal sector, everybody uses it. I use mobile money. I have a bank account, but sometimes I go somewhere. I prefer to use mobile money. When I'm sending my mom money, she doesn't have a bank account. I send her mobile money. I send the money through mobile money. She gets to withdraw it. And so everybody, and traditionally unbanked and the bank, everybody can access products now because everybody has a transactional account.
So do people need the bank account other than abroad? I guess that international becomes a thing with the bank account, but with the e-money, do you think that it's a necessity still, or it's totally fine as is?
For most people, it's fine for transacting. When you get into maybe a more sophisticated thing, like you're saying, maybe you want to pay for, I don't know, college, or you want to do something abroad, you might need a bank account because mobile money scale doesn't support things like that.
And for example, digital platforms probably also don't support the mobile money, right? Like such as, I don't know, for example, PayPal, so AWS services, things like that.
No, they don't. They support bank accounts and card, but we have some fintechs that are coming up and do support mobile money, allow people to send remittances back home through mobile money, and allow people to purchase things online through mobile money. So that's opening up. But the big names that we know today, they don't support mobile money.
How many people live in Ghana?
We are 33 million about today.
And do you know the statistics about the traditional sense unbanked? You don't need to, just for curiosity.
I don't know. What I do know is that in the formal sector, so those who are paying social security, those who are part of the formal sector, we have their taxes, we know who they are. In that sector, over 70% of people have bank accounts because typically when you get employed, your employer will pay you through a bank account. So, but if you take the larger population, I would say something like 70% could be technically unbanked. They don't have a formal bank account, but they could have illegal money in there.
And I mean, Europe surpassed the checkbooks that US kind of bought. So it's totally fine to surpass something, especially in the light of Bitcoin and digital currencies now. So it's kind of, are you lagging behind or are you ahead of
Are you ahead of the game?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you ahead of the game?
I know that in Nigeria, the bank the bank is actually they use bank accounts a lot, and so trying to bring them mobile money is almost like so different contexts require different things because over there, because everybody has a bank account, they don't see the need for a mobile money account. But over here in Ghana, it was really good, the mobile money revolution, because there was a need for a solution that was easy and people could sign up and transact, and it really took off in Ghana.
So maybe now we can go to Achieve and you can tell me more in detail about like how you do it and what you do exactly.
Yes, and exactly. So, following through all of this thinking, people earn money. I think one of the biggest issues is being able to leverage your income to do more for yourself. When you look at, Europe and other places, because you earn money and it's stable, even if it's not stable, but there's a record of it, yeah. You can use that to access credits. You can use that, money and your identity, access credits, invest, access insurance, access other products, because people or the institutions know something about you. They know that you can do that. In Ghana, what we found was you earn the money, you put it in your bank account, you spend it. Earn the money, you put it in your bank account, you spend it, and it's just like a cycle that prevents people from building wealth. When we think about poverty and financial inclusion, we usually go down to the very low earning levels, like, and how do we, help them come out of it, bring them mobile money, bring them other solutions. But we also realize that even the working class were stuck in this loop of paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck because they didn't have financial literacy education and they didn't have the tools to help them even execute if they wanted to execute it. So that's how the thinking started. So for Achieve, we said, okay, we're building this app and we're putting it out there. We started with an app, not USSD or anything, because we were actually very targeted at working people in the formal sector and so on, because they are earning money and they don't know what to do with it.
Other than spend it.
Other than spend it, yes. Buy all kinds of things. So when we started, we said, do not keep your money in your bank account because you're losing money. Don't keep your money under your bed. Here is a platform that would allow you to invest your money in mutual funds and properly regulated funds, and you can make some money out of that. We realized that a lot of people just didn't have this information, and even if they did have the information, there's been because you go individually, there's a lack of verification to the fund manager. Like, is this person legit? So a lot of people had been bitten, by bad companies that are taking their monies and invested it in bad assets, and they didn't get anything back. So there's a lot of mistrust, a lot of misinformation. It's really was really bad. So we started with a simple mutual fund, and with the money market mutual fund. Some of the innovations that we did was to say we want a fund that has no down day, a fund that never loses money.
Okay.
Which sounds very,
utopian.
Yes, because we wanted to help create that trust that I spoke about. Now, let's say I invested in a fund or a product, whatever, and I lost money. As soon as I come to your platform and I put in 100 CDs, and maybe because of market changes, the next day it goes down to 99 CDs, I'm like, oh my God, these people are,
Especially now that all the stock market is acting like
I'm going to take my money away. So we worked with the fund manager and said, this product is great and it has some volatility. How can we make it no volatility but also deliver some return, stable return, just to help people feel confidence and trust. And they were able to reallocate the assets in a such a way that we barely have a down day in that product. It's called DigiSave, digital savings, DigiSave. So people started using that. Then, as time went on, we realized that people were starting to understand, because once you come on our platform, once you invest, we teach you what you're doing. Like once you come on, we show you different risk profiles. So we ask you, are you afraid of losing money? Would you be comfortable if your balance changed? Things like that. And then we say, okay, you should be in this bucket in terms of your risk profiling. What are you trying to save towards? If you're trying to save towards rent, then you should be in a very low risk product. If you're looking long term, maybe you can do this. So as time goes on, people actually, without reading an article or watching a video, start to pick up on financial literacy. This is what I should be looking out for. Sometimes we put out a product and we put this is very high risk, and people come, what do you mean by it's very high? Like, yeah, it's high risk. You don't do this product if you're looking 2 years, maybe 5 years. It's a long-term product. You need to be sure that you're committing to this product because it's going to be volatile and you might come into withdrawal at a time when the price has gone down and things like that. So we deliver the education through that. So from DigiSave, we brought on other products, and then we see that as people start to build the confidence, now they are willing to explore other products that have a bit more risk, but also better performance, like a Eurobond product that we have and a global tech product that we have. But these are all mutual funds. So you don't need to, choose stocks or do anything. There's a fund manager that is doing that for you. And that's intentional for us because there are other apps there that allow you to pick what you want to invest, but that's for the sophisticated user. Absolutely. We want to make it easy for everyone. Once you come on, you can invest your money and make some returns. So now we have different products. DigiSave is still there. It's typically the opening product for people. They come in through that. As they learn, they build confidence, then they can now allocate some of their portfolio into other products as well.
Mm-hmm. And you have goal setting. So tell me about that part of the platform.
So that is one of the, I guess, most popular things, because if I take you back to context again, if I wanted to save to my bank for rents, my kids' school, maybe emergencies, or groceries, the bank cannot do that for me. I'm going to have to either pay 4 bank accounts, or I'm going to have to put all the money in the bank and then use an Excel sheet to track this is for that, this for that, this for that. So when we started, that was one of the things that we wanted to help solve for our people. People are saving towards different things. Why do you lump all of it together? And even with the fund management companies, if you have an account, you have an account. That's it. Nobody cares. How you allocate your funds, nobody cares. So we built a layer in our platform on top of the accounts that the fund manager holds, because it's one account, but we built a layer that allows you to split your investments into different goals, and so you can save towards rent, school, kids, entertainment, emergency funds, which we encourage everybody to have, and so on. And then recently we also brought on automated savings, so you can now say, okay, whenever I get paid on the 2nd, 100 cedis goes here, 200 cedis goes here, 50 cedis goes here, and I don't have to remember every month, and so on. So that's the goal meter, and it's really popular amongst of people.
And from the people perspective, because you mentioned at the beginning that you were worried about the trust, will people trust you? And then you put out some invitations, and the email sign up list went up.
Yeah.
What helped to build that trust initially before you were even able to prove that it works?
I think the initial one was just a product, like a gap in the market. I think people were looking for the solution and they couldn't find it anywhere. And so that's what, the early adopters, they were very eager to try it out. So I don't think that people trusted us to sign up to the waiting list in the beginning. I think they were just like, oh, I've been looking for something like this. When is that coming out? And things like that. But once they did sign up, the trust came from putting their money in, getting their money back, putting their money in, getting their money back. We have people, especially in the early days, because we track visits and active use. Yeah. We have people who come in every single morning to open the app, make sure the money is still there. Yes,
and it's growing.
it's growing. And if it grew by, let's say 1 cedi yesterday, and it grew by, let's say 80 pesos today, we would have customers calling because they were tracking so closely. Why did it grow lesser?
Obviously, if it grows more, you don't get the call.
Of course, you don't get the call. So I would say that in the beginning, it was because there was such a gap in the market and people were looking for something like this. So they were very eager to try it out. But what really built the trust was the experience of it, putting your money in. And in the beginning, we were trying to identify what's that aha moment for people. What is that point at which they go, yes, I found a solution. After, analyzing, surveying, and observing, we realized that aha moment was the first time they saw return on their money. So they go through the entire process, they sign up, and then they put the money there. All of this is, nonchalant, they just normal. But when they come back and they see that the money has grown, then they're excited, like, oh, yes, this thing is actually quite legit. And then when they request for their money, and the other part of it was, at that time, maybe the fastest you get your money for.
When did it start actually?
2021. And then we started in 2020. We launched our first version in 2021. At that time, the fastest you could get your money from a fund manager, typical fund manager, you have to write an email or go there, fill a form. It will take 5 days, maybe 3 days if you're lucky. You were turning around withdrawals in 24 hours, and so that was really exciting to people and making them build the trust even faster.
And even, I know just few of my friends in Nigeria who have fund managers. It's not that it's like, I go to work and then I go to see my fund manager.
Yes.
It's not really like, especially for the working class, it's not unfortunately, due to lack of literacy. Financial literacy, it's still not a thing. So you're kind of ahead of the game with that. How many users do you have?
We've got at recent count over 340,000 users, but we've got active users of greater than 10,000. Those are actively engaging with us. Yeah,
meaning have some balance.
With us. And we like the numbers because we are always looking for new products that meets somebody else's needs. So you have someone who comes on there and maybe today's product doesn't excite them. Another product might excite them. Our goal is not just to look at investments, it's to look at your entire financial plan, which includes short-term investments, long-term investments, insurance, credits. Those are the main ones that we're looking at. Today, we've covered short-term investments. And through Petra, we have long-term investments. And the funny thing is, when we started, we didn't want anybody to know that we were even related to.
Usually having that big brother or father is not seen in the,
Yes.
But I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
So we can come back to it.
Yeah, so 110,000 active users who have a balance and natural vaccine with us.
But okay, so do you want to tell me more about the data of users and kind of your impact and all of that before we get on to the other side of the coin, because it is a two-sided marketplace that you're serving, right?
So our users are mainly between 22 to about 45, majority. Also, unfortunately, it is male skewed. But I mean, that's not by design. We are trying to open it up for everyone. And in fact, recently we have been thinking about how do we get into spaces where we can get more women to participate and invest in these things. Most of them are also in Accra. Accra is the city, the capital city for Ghana. But we've also got urban areas in other parts of the country, like in Kumasi, in Obuasi, Takwa, where we have people who don't have access to these things because they are not in Accra. So this year we're looking to go there, market to them and onboard them and figure out how ways that we can support them, because of course we are online and they would see us online. But it's good to have a presence, so that they know that they can really trust you and then put their monies there. So we are planning to go across Ghana with that. Um, Basically, also we have early career professionals. We have people who are in their 30s who have started families, and then we also have people who are in their 40s who actually have money and don't know what to do with it, really. Financial literacy, I think, is really, really low. We recently again did some data analysis to segment our users, and we found out that there were people who were holding such huge sums on our platform, and some of them were holding these monies in like DigiSave. So we said, okay, now we have to do an outreach program. So I put together a team of like relationship managers that would actually call these people and say, hey, you've got so much money in this product. Would you consider diversifying and putting some in this product so that your overall portfolio return is better for you? And we take them through that. So we get people calling to say, hey, I came into some money. I don't know what to do with it. Can you guys kind of advise them? Say, okay, these are the tools available for you to be able to make a decision, and then you invest your money.
And while we're on the user part, what is the impact that you're seeing? Like how much money, if you can share the numbers, have been already invested, earned, goals achieved, any quantitative but also qualitative stories that you can share about the impact?
Yeah. I'll start with a story. There was a gentleman who was a very early user. His name is Eugene. And when he joined Achieve, started using Achieve, he was a mechanic, so finding ways to invest and save money. And, was small amounts of money. He found it very useful because whenever people would come in, do cash transactions or mobile money transactions, at the end of the day, he would put the money in Achieve and earn some money. Exactly, on that. So fast forward a few years later, and at that time he was doing like 1,000 CDs, 1,500 CDs. I was engaging one of my team members, and he was telling me about a customer who had a little problem that we needed to address. So I said, okay, who's this customer? He said, Eugene, do I know him? I look, I said, I know this guy. And at that time, he was transacting about 30,000. So the growth from doing,
Yes.
1,500, just building that discipline and being able to build himself to the point where he was transacting to the tune of 30,000. I felt really, really proud of him and also of us for creating, that platform. But in terms of AUM, assets under management, we've been able to grow our assets under management to about 110 million Ghana cedis, which is about maybe $7 million. We have tens of thousands of goals at different completion stages, but we have 100% complete achieved goals of about 14,000 people have set goals and achieved them.
Nice.
We've been able to support all kinds of industries. We have one customer who's really excited about our application because she uses it to support an NGO. So she runs an NGO that does skills training for young women. And whenever you join her program, she says, you need to download Achieve. And any allowance, any payments that are made to you goes into Achieve. So build your own sort of savings net for emergencies and things like that. So those are the things that excite us, creating a platform for people to be able to save and creating discipline. One of the features of our goals that I didn't mention was there's a lock feature. So you can choose that, okay, I need to pay rent in 6 months. So I'm going to be disciplined. I'm putting away 1,000 cedis every month and I'm locking it so that I cannot access the money until 6 months or until I meet the goal. And whilst it's very popular and helps people achieve their goals faster, you have people come and say, oh, can you help me unlock the goal? Give me the account. I want my money. But more people are super excited. They're like, this goal feature was a lifesaver because when I didn't have money, I was so tempted to go for the money. But I had, that lock feature and I had that goal. And when I hit that goal, I was able to achieve the thing. And that's really the word, right? Achieve. Like it's wanting to achieve your dreams, and we provide the tools for that. So in terms of impacts, those are some of the stories that I can share or what we've done so far.
It's just amazing to hear that, you're helping people not only to achieve their goals, but also learn and upskill and also spread the awareness about the good things.
Yes.
In terms of, if we go back now to the other side a little bit, you touched upon Petra, obviously. Can you tell me about that story, like your relationship at the beginning and now? Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I've been at Petra now 11 years.
And can you also explain what Petra is? Because I, for example, don't know.
Of course, Petra is a financial institution in Ghana. It's best known as a pensions company. What we do is we go out to corporate organizations and try to get them to onboard their employees onto our pensions products. The government of Ghana brought out a reform for the pensions industry about 12 years ago that requires every employer to onboard their employees onto a pensions product.
And pension is a private sector product or government product?
Both. So the 3 tiers. First tier is government managed. Second and third tiers are private managed. Second tier is compulsory for everyone. Third tier is voluntary. And Petra is one of the companies that manages second and third tier. So the compulsory one and the voluntary one, we help manage for companies. So, I was hired, worked there a few years, and in 2020, we were having this conversation. At that time, I was head of strategy initiatives, and I was like, the world is moving, the world has shifted. Everybody's online, the young people are online, and they are left out of this financial services sector because we have people who don't even know that Petra is their fund managed like pension. They have no idea. You have old people who are retiring and they're engaging with you for the first time, like because everything is going through the employer. But people also have needs now. They want to invest, they want to save towards things. You have to be in a certain class of people to even be aware that you can invest in a mutual fund, for instance. And okay, what is a mutual fund? Where do I go? Who do I call? Who do I talk to? And so at that time, my bosses happily said, okay, you go create a small team and incubate this idea. So it was just myself, Daniel, who is here with me today, and another lady, Susanna. And then we started that. So whilst we were born out of Petra, we were treated very much like a startup. We were a startup. We had to deliver results, weekly results, actually. Weekly learnings. What are you learning? What are consumers saying? What do they want? And we had to figure out partnerships. I think that's one part of the thing that people don't know or don't think about. We are a technology platform. We build the tech. I do product development, product management, and I have a tech team. We don't process payments. We don't actually manage the funds. We don't do any of that bit. We connect. And so we have to build a partnership with the fund manager to bring on their product. And sometimes the fund manager doesn't even have the tech that can support integration.
So your fund managers are not from Petra?
No, they are not from Petra.
Okay.
We had to go out there and figure out what would work for the market. So Petra, we just left. We left Petra alone.
Well, hopefully they gave you some cash on the way.
We've recently brought on Petra products. We've recently brought them on. But in the beginning, Petra would have held us back because you would have to modify everything that you're doing to suit the company. No, we said what is best for the consumer. And if what is best for the consumer at that time is not what this company is offering, we will go elsewhere and look for it and bring it onto our platform. And then we also have to integrate with payment service providers who facilitate the actual payments. And we've integrated with like 4 different ones. We've actually integrated with over 6 to 8 different ones, some of whom we had to stop using because we want to deliver certain experience to the customer. In the beginning, we also didn't advertise a phone number. We actually don't advertise a phone number
Of a person or a few
of us.
Yeah.
We don't
support would be
yeah, we don't advertise a location, which was all intentional, right? And so if the thing works, nobody has to call you. But if it doesn't work, then the people have to call you. So we've got like 4 redundancies for processing transactions. There's a lot of mechanics and engineering that is going on in the back just to make sure that the customer has a good experience. And then after we have brought on all these products, we are now integrating with Petra to also we brought on pensions products as well, so that whilst you can do short term, you can also do long term. And I mentioned earlier that we are also now looking to integrate with other partners that can bring on insurance and loans and credit products and stuff.
Okay. And you mentioned that at first you were reluctant to even mention Petra.
Yes.
Why was that? Can you tell me about that situation?
So it was about the trust. It would have been very easy for us to ride on the Petra brand name to create the trust. If we had done that, then we wouldn't have learned how to create trust digitally by ourselves. So what this means is that we can go to another market where we don't have Petra and use similar tactics to create trust on a digital platform. So we intentionally said, let's not ride on the brand equity that Petra has. Let's just go with a name that nobody knows, and let's see if we can learn how to build that trust on our own, so that if we want to scale to another country where there's no Petra to ride on, then what are you going to do? You have to learn that skill. So that was why we did
strategic thinking in advance, definitely. Yeah. But does Petra have ownership control over Achieve with Cedis?
Petra does. Sole shareholder of Achieve at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does that mean to you as the main drivers of a project? Is that?
I don't understand the question.
I guess the question is like, do you get any ownership of Achieve?
Oh, yes. Through employee stock options and employee stock plans, yes, we do get ownership of Achieve. And so we it's very dear to our hearts because apart from all the work that we're doing, there's also exposure that we get to the upside as it works out. Petra is also really excited about what we've been able to do. And so now we are more or less the digital arm of the entire group. Every product needs to come on there so that people can
learn
access
and
it.
see it.
Exactly, yeah.
But do you get still involved with other projects of Petra, or now you're focused?
No, fully focused on Achieve. The Petra acquired a technology company and put Achieve there. So there's a full subsidiary. It's actually called Spy. My subsidiary is called Spy, and that's where all the work happens for Achieve. We just report back to the road inspector.
Okay. And you as individuals, what do you think made you three come together for Achieve? Maybe like share your background this a little bit. So
well, yeah. I mean, my education was in business admin. And then when I came after school, I took some technology courses. There's Meltwater Entrepreneurial Support Technology. It's an NGO that delivers technology education to young graduates. So I applied for that and I went for that course. So I had a bit of that background. But I've always just been a creator, either by hand. I like to create things. I get bored of routine very quickly. So when I went into Petra, I think that was identified by my manager, and I was given little projects here and there. I joined. Petra didn't have a tech team, so we created a tech team, and I was asked to join as a business analyst
before Achieve.
That was way before Achieve. Way before Achieve, there was no tech team, so we created that tech team. I was asked to join as a business analyst, and I grew, in there all the way to actually heading the tech team and not being a software engineer myself, a business analyst, a product manager, but I was working with software engineers building solutions for the business,
Mhm.
not external
Mhm.
solutions. So that's a bit of my background. And so after that, I was then promoted to be head of strategy, and then all this conversation and the story that I told you happened. So I've got this background, and I'm fearless, really. I like the challenge. So I was probably the right person because I was the one, spearheading and saying, no, we need to do something different. We need to figure out where the world is going and be part of that. And then for my team members, so I was told, okay, you can get a couple of people. Daniel is amazing. He has a finance background, which is excellent.
Obviously, you need
For
that.
this, and you need people who have grit, people who are committed, who will do the work. So I got Daniel and I got Susanna, who was also a business analyst. So she would work with the developers, with software engineers, to do that. We also have Stefan. He was, I was hoping he would come with us to the WSC, but he couldn't make it. He's our lead engineer. He's excellent. Software engineer. Pretty much built the whole thing by hand. So in the beginning, there was 5 of us, and there's we all have that startup trait. When you see someone who can do this thing,
Grit and be fearless, as you said.
fearless, go in there, defend your position, get the. So I was responsible for getting resources, get the resources. But my team, man, they really did the work to get it out there. And we believe in like CI/CD, so continuous innovation, continuous development. So almost every week we're putting out a new version, and people were getting tired of us. They're like, yeah, we are.
I just learned where this button is, and
Why
I
did
switched
you
everything.
almost every week, and it was just really intense in the first couple of years. Very intense, daily stand-ups, weekly meetings with management. But we also love it. Like
It pushed you, definitely.
we enjoyed. We are very close. We became close. I told you we started in 2020, so that was when COVID hit. So this whole project started while everybody was at home,
Okay.
and we would stay on the laptops all day, all night. Just
No kind of barrier between private life and work life. Very
just
easy.
trying to figure it out. We were the social media managers, the customers. I mean, I remember the very first time we were sending out an email marketing campaign or an email campaign. It wasn't even a marketing campaign, it was an email campaign to users. Created everything in MailChimp. Everything was good. And then everybody was like, okay, who presses the send button?
Because everybody learns so much that usually there is a link that doesn't work.
Yes. I'm like, well, okay, fine. So I have a video recording on me pressing send, let's go. I had to learn Canva, how to use Canva, because
I got it quite easy to use.
So cool.
But still, yeah.
Best thing out there, for founders, all the initial graphics and everything, I was creating them myself, and it really just that kind of team, that kind of environment, pushing each other. And in my team, there are no pushovers. Like your data you can't come and say we need to do this. Why? What's your data? What's your proof? What's your research? Have you spoken to any customer? It's just really a great team, great minds that work really hard to put this thing out there.
But so did you get any support from Petra other than, the founder, the team coming together? And I assume your salary was still being paid, so at least you didn't have to think about how pay my bill next month.
Our salaries were being paid, but like I said, we were being treated very much like a startup. So even, even when it comes to salary, whilst other parts of the organization, maybe they were growing faster, you have limited resources, this is your budget. So there was a quarterly budget, and I had to go and defend every quarter to get more budget. And so our salaries were at some point even less. But you're a startup.
Yeah.
You need to prove the point.
You wanted this, it's on you.
It's on you now, So yes, we were very Petra invested in the business, but it was an investment. It wasn't like here's some money, it was
whatever, this is a bank card.
No.
Check.
It's an investment. So every quarter I had to go back to the board. This is what we've done, this is where we are. Can we get more money? Yes, it's looking good, you can get more money. It's that kind of thing. So yeah. I think that discipline, when people hear that we are part of Petra, they tend to assume that, oh, then it was just like another department.
Yeah.
No,
It's like a spin-off for Petra to earn more money of people. That's kind of immediate cliche that everybody is comes to. Yeah.
But when you explain, like, we were treated very much like a startup, I had to brush up on my finance skills, look at P&L, expense lines, like, where is this thing going? And so, and I'll give you another example that I probably should have given earlier about building trust and getting traction. When we started, one of the things that we was that we were absorbing transaction fees. Because, like I said, people had been bitten so many times. So if I tell you come and use my app and you have to pay to transact, you're less likely to do it. So for the first 2 years, we were absorbing transaction fees, and that was the most expensive line on our because the PSPs, they are in their business, they don't care. So you have to pay for the customer. And so after a while, Fetch had that they're like, okay, guys, when are you guys ready to break even? Show us the numbers. It is still a business.
It is a business, but for a startup in 2 years that's so it's kind of like crossing the line.
Yes. So we said, okay, now we have to really think about revenue. We also have to think about costs and rationalizing our costs. So we said, okay, we're going to ask people to pay the transaction fees themselves. And there was such a nervous period because we were not sure how they were going to react. But I said, we say we are creating value. If you're creating value, people are willing to pay for value, right? This solution is novel. Nobody's doing this. So, and they understand because it's not like the transaction is free.
Yes.
We were paying for it, but we're like, okay, now you've come on the platform, you've experienced it for 2 years. Can you pay your own transaction fees, please? And we did that, and it was great. Like, the customers had no issues at all because they understood that we were absorbing the fees and now. So all of this investments, all of these expenses were really investments into the business that we have to prove that we can pay back or show a certain value to the mother company for investing in us.
And how many users did you have at that point that you decided to switch to as payment?
It was about 50,000.
Yeah. So it's a substantial base that will continue spreading the word that is and social proof.
Yeah.
But what is your business model?
Our business model is we get a fee, a percentage of asset management fees from the fund managers. So, fund managers charge a fee. So they give us specific, because we are marketing the fund for them. We also charge for premium services. So if you remember, I said we were actually beating the market for withdrawals by doing 24-hour withdrawals. And that in itself takes some engineering. But we said, okay, let's push ourselves. Let's do instant withdrawals because like a bank account.
But the mobile money, other instant mobile money sending, right? That
Yes.
was instant. So also people are used to money being instant.
Very exactly. People are used to money being instant, and they pay for instant access because mobile money transactions are not free.
Okay, so that's also useful because that already taught them that this is
perfect. So how do we make this happen? And it's like I said, there's a lot of pieces that we put together. I think that's what we're good at. We look at what exists and how do we put it together differently.
Sounds like with that team.
Yeah,
they're quick for that.
Yeah, so we introduce what we call express withdrawals, like a premium service. So you want your money instantly. Standard withdrawals are free, but instant withdrawals you pay a percentage to get that, and like 96% of the last report of withdrawals are through express withdrawals. People just don't want to wait. Like, give me my money now.
It's okay, I'll pay for it.
I'll pay for it. It's nothing. So, and then we also now have agreements with the PSPs to also get a share of their transaction fees because we are routing traffic through your platform. Okay. And things like that. So that's how we make money today. On the other products that are coming up, you will think through revenue models that make sense. My team is always on. It needs to be fair and easy for the customer. So in the beginning, we're not really thinking revenue until our shareholders started going, you need to figure out how you...
But from the very beginning, you were getting a percentage
of the AUMs.
Yes.
Of that. But that's, that's revenue later. AUMs need to really build up to a critical mass for the revenues to make sense, because the management fee is 2%, 2.5%, and we are getting a share of that, like 1%.
Okay.
And if your AUM is in the beginning like 500,000, it's really, so it takes time to build up AUM. So we had to also think about, okay, as the AUM is building up, what are more shorter, quicker revenue models that we can put in place so that you can make some revenue now as AUM is building up over the years. Because once your AUM becomes bigger, then that 1% is enough to cover your business.
But talking about the structure, so obviously there's a certain like what's the interest rate that people are making? How much of that goes to the fund and you and can you?
Yes, of course. We operate a unit, like it's a mutual fund, but it's units based. What that means is that when you bring in money, it's essentially you are buying units of the funding at a certain price. So every day there's a valuation that is made, and it is determined that, okay, the price for the fund today is 1 cedi. You bring in 100 cedis, you get 100 units, and that 100 units is ascribed to your account. So if the price moves up tomorrow, then it is the price times your units that becomes your balance, your balance that you can count for. So what happens is that all the monies come to the fund manager, and they invest the money for the schemes, and they do the evaluation, and then they come up with the price. But as part of that, they also accrue fees for managements, for their own managements, marketing, insurance, all of these things. But there's a cap by law on how much fees they can charge. And that cap is 2.5%. And we do 2 to 2.3% on top of the funds. So whatever that fee is, that's where they also give us a portion of that. So for the user, you don't have to worry about any fees, because by the time you see the price for the day, all of that has been taken care of. So and then the fund manager, for most of our agreements, is 1% of the fee is what we agree with the fund manager that they give us.
Yeah. And what about the interest for people? What's the typical? Is there an average?
So it varies for all the different products, exactly. So for DigiSafe, for instance, last year I think we ended the year somewhere around 16% annualized.
Really good, actually.
Yeah,
especially for a safe product that you can withdraw for time.
Exactly.
Like, in Europe, everybody say if you find 10%. That's already a very good investment. Like 6% is what you expect.
Yeah, so for a liquid product, but people peg obviously against T-bill, which what is that? Treasury bills, like government of Ghana bills. Usually that's the number to beat in terms of return. But for DigiSave, again, you're spot on. Because it's liquid, you can come for it and all that. And we still want to deliver returns. So we try to get the fund manager to deliver something like 68% return.
To be honest, if you start telling Europeans that you can achieve like 16% in a liquid product, I'm sure like your user base will be very different, but it's still here.
Yeah. And then we've got other products, the more volatile ones. Global Tech, I think 2 years ago, was doing something like 56 to 60%, but that's a more volatile product. It's got NVIDIA, all these other ones in there. So that's for a more sophisticated user that's patient, but it can give really outrageous returns.
Could be if there's another AI revolution, another NVIDIA skyrocketing so much.
Yeah, exactly.
But it could be that Tesla is going down. So
exactly. So it ranges from maybe 16% to up to 60%, but somewhere around 20% is a good spot for most people. We also have treasury bills and bonds that you can purchase, and those would be at market rates. Last year, anywhere between 22 to 27 to 29%, depending on the tenure and all of those things you can get. So.
Okay. I lack my own digital literacy to understand, to compare with a European trip. So much as that, but it does sound like a lot from what I'm hearing just around my peers. Yeah, really.
Yeah, it is. But you also then have to factor in currency. So that's why maybe in your currency you might get 6% and so on, but in ours you might get a bigger return. But currency, if you compare, we might be a little below.
Okay, so that's also like there's currency fluctuations that plays into part. Okay. And in terms of your other partners, you mentioned that, and especially like the initial DigiSafe partner, you wanted to do a unique product that never goes down.
Yes.
Tell me a bit about that process and how difficult it was or how scalable it is. And
We are very stubborn as a team.
fearless, I like that.
Hashtag fearless. But the good thing is that fund manager is I'll say a friend of the company. My bosses know them, they know each other. So we said, okay, we'll go with this fund manager. And I think when it comes to partnerships, it's really more about the relationship than the solution. Because if the relationship is good and you have the same kind of goal, then you're willing to work together. So they were very happy to work with us. So we put on the first product, the first version, and we saw that this wouldn't work because we wanted to build trust. We should see no down days. It was really a series of conversations like, what can we do? How do you adjust the assets allocation in such a way that you can be liquid, no down day, but also deliver.
Basically, we want everything.
Yes, we want everything.
Give them a list, everything on the list.
Yes, it was a lot of conversations, a lot of seeing our perspective. I mean, there are times we would even send them feedback from customers directly, like this is what the customer is saying, and data doesn't lie. As we worked, we saw that when there was a down day, everything dipped. Sign-ups dipped, contributions dipped, everything dipped. When they stabilized, everything went up. So we showed them the trend. You see, the customer, when it goes down, they don't want to engage with you anymore. But when it's stable and it's going up, they do. And as we engage with them, and they are also like obviously really invested in what we are doing. We are opening up new customers coming into the fund.
And also, I guess you really push them to innovate.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And find ways that they probably would have not found themselves.
Yeah. A lot of people are very comfortable, especially in the financial services space, will hide behind regulation, security.
And that kind of tradition, right? This has been done like that, and this is it.
This is it. I mean, when we started, we actually wanted to work with the banks for payments. Nobody wanted to talk to us. Nobody wanted to talk to us because it's going to, they just couldn't understand our vision, like what we were trying to do. But yeah, in the financial services space, you have to get people who are willing to be a little open to trying out new things, to want to innovate in that space.
How much of the financial market is local market, like the banks, the funds, Petra? Is it local or is it
It's largely local. Okay, largely local. Also because of regulation. Regulation in our space, it's regulation is supposed to what's it called, protect the customer and the business, but it also can be very inhibiting for innovation.
We in Europe also know that we're getting a lot of backlash on that as well.
So we have to tread carefully. Yeah. Sometimes you're there like, this is common sense. I should be able to do this, but the law doesn't allow you to do it. So you have to engage, find ways to go around it, and sometimes the partners, understandably so, do not want to risk it because their licenses would be at risk and things like that. So we just have to keep engaging and finding people who can think and believe in what we do. Like this fund manager that helped us with DigiSave, actually we went with them to the regulator several times, present the solution. This is what we're trying to do. They were very involved because they also saw where this could go. So you need partners like that who can help you figuring out.
Do you have a direct relationship with government, and what's the government like and their take on innovation, technology, and innovative products like yours?
It's 50-50. We don't have a direct relationship with that. We try not to be regulated. But I think we'll fail. I think at some point
Yeah.
we'll have to get a license of some sort because we are providing the tech platform and technology per se is not regulated.
Yes. Because you don't manage the funds.
Exactly. But exactly. Perfect. So the fund managers, they are regulated and we make sure. And another thing that people like about us is that on our app, for every product, the prospectus is there, the recent license is there. So sometimes even if the license, maybe it expired maybe yesterday and hasn't been updated, you have customers calling, I just checked the license. Can you put the new license, you know? So everything is there. You can do your due diligence. So and then our PSPs, they are also regulated by the bank.
And they are also local.
Everybody's local.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to Stripe being or like PayPal and you have those two and it's very difficult for a new entrant to kind of capture that market size. So it's
in Ghana we have some really good fintechs that are serving the local market and even going into and remittances. We work with ExpressPay, ZPay, Airtel. These are all fintechs that help us facilitate payments into and out of.
Why do you need so many?
For redundant.
Just like you.
I told you
Yeah.
if you come to our back end, somebody has to explain everything to you. So and also because we want the best deal for the customer, sometimes we have a PSP, their card processing fees are great. Okay, we'll bring you on, but only for card.
Okay.
This other guy, mobile money processing fees are great, but his card fees are not that great. So we'll bring you on. So if the customer wants to do card, we take you here.
Okay.
We just do a lot just to make the experience really great for the customer.
Yeah. But it's also so great to see that Ghana is pushing for that local technology because, of course, especially at WSA, we discuss a lot about the impact of the Big Five tech and the dependence of the world and Europe especially.
Yeah.
So it's really kudos. And is that coming from government, like the push to innovation?
No, not really. Not really. I think like I was telling you, the Ghanaian market is youthful and connected. And so we have a lot of talents in Ghana. We have a lot of software engineers that are working remotely for like big companies.
But you still need, for example, like the problems that we're hearing is that, there are no like software engineers in countries where education is not being pushed. So that's kind of like the role usually the government
would play in. I mean, I'm not to say that the government is not doing anything because the government also has over the past few years a digital first sort of approach to things. We a few years ago introduced the national ID card, the Ghana card, to try and get everybody on.
There is that
kind of shaking, but a lot of the technology innovation that's happening is not happening because of that. I think the private sector is pushing more, and then we get government on board because sometimes it's very difficult to explain. Like even in our case, in the early stages, we got in trouble, for innovating. I was telling the roundtable session yesterday that we got fined, for innovating, but
as a digital platform.
But after that, I mean, the regulator understood what we were doing, and they've been very supportive after that. So sometimes there are some hurdles that you have to jump.
So maybe it's like always a silver lining. What did you get fined for? Yeah, it's fine. Confidential information. That's okay. Yeah. Are you now satisfying your father, Petra, on your business and the income that you're generating?
No. We have a target to break even by next year. So we are working really hard on that. This year, for those who are in Ghana, in Accra, they've seen that we've been really scaling. Petra has supported us with a bit of additional capital for marketing. So we've been scaling, just bringing on. Our contributions have doubled, tripled on some months, just to try and bring on as many people as possible. And that's also pushing us because when you have a question, you have to find an answer, right? If you're comfortable where you are, you will never find an answer. The question has been, you guys have done great. You've brought on all these people, all these products, but your revenue model, business model now is that you have you have to be supported for a bit longer before you build up AUM and so on and so forth. The question to you is, how can you support yourself sooner? And that's the challenge my team and I are facing. And I think we're pretty much have to. We're thinking about new products. I was talking about new ones that we want to bring on, new partnerships that would help us break even faster and be able to cover some costs and even start to repay some of the investment that has been made in the company so far.
Yeah. And in terms of marketing, do you focus on digital, or because you mentioned that now you're planning the physical probably as well?
Yeah.
How is that working out?
It's mostly been digital, but we've started doing a bit more physical activations, direct. On the financial literacy bit, it's really if you provide the education, people are very willing to engage because they don't have the education.
They
So
didn't even know that they need it, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of education. Our shareholders at the last board meeting were shocked to find out that TikTok was driving acquisitions at the rate at which it's driving forward, because that's where the young people are. And we only started the TikTok campaigns last year, and it's now like one of the leading ways in which people get to know us, get to engage with us, ask us questions, and download the app. So trying out different campaigns. Traditionally we do radio. We haven't done TV yet, but we've also done a few billboards just for awareness sake, for people to see us around. And then now we want to go to other regions, and because as I don't know, but it seems like the digital targeting still keeping us very much in Accra.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to other regions, do a few activations over there, visit companies, just do this financial literacy thing that we're doing so that people can get to know that actually exists and they can solve these problems from here.
Sounds like a very much like you need a community around, right? Like a community building, or is that the
It's
latest?
happening, yes. It is definitely a community that we have on Facebook. It's always refreshing when maybe on X somebody comes and types something about Achieve like in a negative way, and before we can respond, like the 10 different people are responding. Oh no, that's not. This is how it works. Because I think when people find that solution that really solves a problem for them, they are like champions of the solution, and we're really happy to have that kind of community around us.
And then you have that community, you know that you've done something really right. Yeah.
We're trying our best.
What are the challenges? You briefly mentioned marketing and kind of hitting your break-even goals, but what other challenges that you maybe encountered or are encountering, and maybe want to even recommend something for entrepreneurs starting something?
One of the biggest challenges, well, we spoke about trust already, but one of the other bigger challenges is the infrastructure where we are. Like I said, we've had to build a lot of the connecting solutions, even build solutions for third parties. Like just the infrastructure doesn't really exist. It's not plug and play.
But that's in Ghana or globally, or you're not allowed to source globally?
It's in Ghana. The other thing for global is also costs. Okay, so there's a lot of moving parts. I'll give you an example. When we verify IDs, because we have to verify your identity as a financial institution, there are solutions all over the world for doing that, and they're priced in dollars. Right, it's really cheap. Like the dollar, 99 cents in dollars is really cheap, but when you convert it back to cedis, it becomes so expensive that we actually cannot use it.
I mean, if the user is only paying, putting me $1 a week or a month, then it's very expensive.
So it becomes expensive. So then we have to come up with our own solution that achieves the same purpose at a cheaper.
Okay.
rate.
So you actually build a KYC process along the way.
We build a KYC. Yes, we do KYC.
Nice. I think you're about to have an incubator of, like a startup venture.
All kinds of solutions. And we've actually discussed this internally
because I'm sure that
solution
other Ghana companies really need a KYC.
Exactly. So maybe we can outsource or open it up for other. So we do a lot of these things ourselves. So for some of the solutions, yes, they do exist out there, but it's very expensive once you bring it in. And for instance, when we're trying to do payments, there are payment solutions that even go across Africa, across Ghana, Nigeria, so on. But whilst the cost is cheap in dollars, it becomes really expensive. So if you're going to have to either go with a local partner or find a way to just circumvent and make it affordable.
Yeah, I think the West built the world on the West.
Exactly.
Well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Feel
I,
for
I
yourself
think it's a very good gap, right? Because, now Europe is complaining that, oh my God, we rely on the US, while you have the opportunity to learn
Yeah.
of what's been done, how it's been done, and actually
Apply.
do it on your own terms, which is, I think, actually a really great opportunity and a great value to have in this current climate, especially.
Thank you.
And moving forward. Maybe going a little bit to the question that I really wanted to ask, which is more on the soft side.
Okay.
How is the female, like females at work, at tech, or in general, kind of like the society towards females doing tech and participation and all these things?
Yeah. It's historically below. I mean, I'm sad to say that even in Achi, we have one female engineer. All of Petra actually, we don't have one female engineer. So
What senior managers? Okay.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Outside of the tech space, in fact, the divide for the company is 50-50 really.
Okay. So gender equality in Ghana is not like
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not really a problem in the formal institutions. It's not a problem. Where I see that there's less is within spaces like this, engineering, technology, and things.
But also it's a global.
It's a global problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are like people starting to try to include women, create communities for women and to enable them take up some of these roles and get into STEM more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you as a female driver or this initiatives don't have any problems.
No, not really. At least I think, and I think I'm privileged, to be honest with you. I think people who may be in different organizations may have different experiences, but my bosses have really championed, supported. When I tell people that I have 3 kids doing all of this,
Okay, I didn't know either.
and how do you,
Yeah, how do you?
but I go on maternity leave, I have my children, I come back,
But they are still there and
flexible,
growing.
yes, an environment that allows me to be who I am, and a Muslim also, like all these things, but an environment that allows me to do that and also lead, then be heard and create something for the organization and also for other countries. So I think I'm privileged in that. Other people may not have that experience, but within the circles that I find myself, I think most women, once you push yourself and you find yourself within the right environment, you'll be okay. I do think that we need to open up more spaces for women.
To empower the trust in themselves, right?
To empower and trust. I used to be very wary of speaking, like in public, and I just want to do my job. But the thing that motivates me to do it more now is so that somebody can see me and say, well, she's just like me because I am just like you.
Yeah.
And maybe she'll, take the next step to want to go out there and try to do something. So
it's a very different thing than you're doing something for a cause versus yourself. I find it a lot with females, that myself included, like the podcast probably has been, in my mind, or speaking has been in my mind for so long, but because it was like either for business or for something, it never felt that I was kind of like promoting myself.
yes.
But now I want to promote your story so that you get more impact done, and I just don't get it, then it's okay.
Yeah, next time I'll do
I'm
it.
comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you're absolutely right that many females probably have that in themselves. It's just the courage and trust that has to be built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are your, I don't know, like what excites you the most when you wake up in the morning? What is your kind of most exciting part of what you do?
To be honest, is my team. And where we where we've come from, because like I was saying, Petra in itself didn't really have a tech team. We built that from scratch. And then this new team, I always, tease Daniel because he's a finance guy. He was going for a CFP and all that. And now he's a product manager leading a product management team, like the growth. If you open yourself up for growth and for learning and you stay humble, like you can do amazing things. So one of the things that excites me is just engaging with them. Because whenever people, visit our management meetings or team meetings, they're like, what is going on here? Like, we can talk for 4 hours because the ideas, like, what we should do, and everybody's so excited. And how can we do this? How can we do that? The positivity around the room. It's not like you come in and everybody's like, oh man,
I need something.
And I try to create, because I know it's a lot. The work is hard. So I try to create an open environment where people can actually confess, like, Huzaifa, this didn't happen, like, and I'm not gonna get mad or okay, how do we rectify? How do we people make mistakes? You have to create an environment for them to own up and fix rather than hide. Because if you hide mistakes in the work that we're doing, it will come out later
after you click that button.
Your problem. So I think what excites me the most, to be honest, apart from all of the impacts, apart from the solutions, is really the team and being able to create such a team that is excited about what they do. Building, thinking, just creating something exciting that we are all very happy to be a part.
How big is your team now, the Achieve team?
It's now 22. Yeah.
I mean, building the QIC process along the way, tool, and then Achieve. And then you mentioned, that you had to build many more of these things. Yeah. So
we have our customer service, solution, like team,
even like the whole customer service management solution.
No, we use a paid one. Yeah. Come up with our own process, our own integrations, just to create a certain environment or experience for the customer. Yeah.
And that is such a good, like everybody's like, oh my God, Instagram, like how many people sold for so much. And it's like not possible to do big tech or big things or small teams. There we go. And it's part of being hungry and motivated at first.
Yes, yeah. I think it also, like you said, for the cause, right? Because I think whilst we all were in the financial industry, we actually believe in this thing, like, because when you talk to someone who uses Achieve and they're excited, like they can, it's always such a great feeling, and if you're happy to do that, more of it for more people. Yeah. So I think, like you rightly said, when there's the cause attached to it, everybody's really excited. Like you get team members sending messages in the middle of the night with ideas, and it's really a cool part of it.
Yeah, because you don't feel like you work for a business, you work for the people and for the cause.
Yes.
And that is so great to hear the confirmation of it for you.
It is.
Yeah. What is next? And then I will have the final question. Not to torture you for too long.
Yeah. What's next for us is expansion in 2 ways. We want to bring on more products. So really what we started out, small, but what we want to do is we want a place where you can come and create a financial plan for yourself. Okay, these are my short-term goals, these are my long-term goals. This is the protection I need, and if I want to access credit. And because all of that information is there, and you're transacting with us, it becomes easier for you to be able to access these things. We facilitate that. So bringing on new products. And then taking the solution elsewhere. In fact, my boss said it some time ago that whilst we were thinking Africa, is not just an African problem. It's a problem that we can solve globally. So we were thinking Africa, we start with Africa, but for now, they're expanding into some African countries and maybe thinking about where else can we take this solution and solve the same access to investments, financial sex problem for the average person.
So, the final question, sure. Or maybe like one before the final question. I always have it towards the end. If you had a magic wand and you could change one thing around what you're doing, what would that be? Yeah, it's kind of like
what would make the most impact? Honestly, if I had a magic wand, then I would eliminate charges. Yeah, because that would,
Charges of what? Like the payment transaction?
yeah, like any charges that prevents someone from accessing the platform. Because what I was want the most is everybody using the platform, and one of the biggest hindrances for people is the friction, right? A lot of friction for them to be able to use the platform. So I would eliminate that so that it becomes so smooth and so cheap. You can come in, you can go out, and then we can scale, all over, and everybody would have access to this thing. Maybe the second thing would be I would wave my wand and fix all the infrastructure problems that we have, like like you mentioned. Why do I need 4 PSPs, then fund managers? I would simplify that, and it would not just be for Achieve. To be honest, I think we need that in Ghana so that innovation can be faster. We spend a lot of our innovation time fixing the building blocks problems rather than innovating on top of those problems. A lot of the thinking we do is about how do we, but if that existed, then we'd be able to do so much more to prepare.
But it's such an interesting, like, again, everything is so polarized and like there is good and bad, because when you have many, that means that many innovators, entrepreneurs are taking part of it and like attempting it. Some of them do better this and some of them do better that. Then you have one Facebook around the world. then everybody gets into a monopoly, and it's kind of like
yes, you're right.
It's a different set of problems. So it's kind of like, how do you find balance as a world?
Yeah.
Do you have an ask to the global community who potentially will be listening to this podcast? Is there anything you would like to, kind of invite people to connect you with or get in touch or, any?
Yes, absolutely. In line with the expansion agenda, I would really like introductions and connections for people who, like mentioned, who think that this would be useful in their countries, but specifically in Kenya, in Cote d'Ivoire, that we are looking at now in Nigeria, fund managers, because our products may not be able to go in there because of licensing, so we'll have to find new partnerships and so on. We can bring the tech, but fund manager relationships, products, and people that are looking to also reach the retail market and can leverage our solutions to do that. I would love to engage with people from all over the world who think that this solution can make an impact in their space and have a conversation about how we can move that forward.
That is an amazing task. Thank you so much. I had such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
And with that, I want to invite you to be curious and resourceful. Huzaifa's story is a testament of how far one can go to achieve their goals of greater benefit to the society. I personally don't know another investment tool that gives guaranteed return no matter what. But sitting down with fund managers and looking at the local context, driven by an impactful mission, has allowed Achieve and their partners to innovate the financial field. Looks like Africa is leapfrogging once again. And if you are a fund manager, get in touch to explore the opportunities on how to bring Achieve to your country. Because I don't think that there is a single country in the world that has figured out financial literacy at scale just yet. And what a better way to educate people on their finance management than by showing and proving that it works every single day. On that note, next week I will be bringing you another story from the edge of impact, this time jumping all the way to Canada to talk to the founder of Arbor, to learn how the three of them, the co-founders of Arbor, are innovating the carbon accounting and CO2 emission measurement. I'll see you next week at the Edge of Impact.